ice cream, books, televisions, and snooze buttons all have in common? They're all very important factors in determining whether you have a rich mindset or a poor mindset. So sit down, grab your favorite beverage, and let's go through the difference between what rich people do and poor people do. So the difference between a rich mindset and a poor mindset, as illustrated by ice cream, goes like this. A poor person's mindset is binging. They're going to sit down, they're going to eat all of it at once. They're going to watch all of their favorite Netflix shows all at once and binge watch. And they're going to put aside success to later. Whereas the rich person, they have a very strategic and disciplined and structured mindset. Yeah, sure, they're going to have a little bit of ice cream from time to time, but they're not going to sit there and binge because they know that this hurts their future results. So they have a little bit, and then they get back on track. And they strategically plan out their meals, they plan out their days, they plan out their business, they set their goals. And it's because of that strategic approach that they're able to accumulate wealth over time, rather than the poor person's mindset who binges, who spends all their money, who goes to Vegas and wastes it on drunken weekends time and time again. And they end up with credit card debt, and they end up falling behind everybody else, especially the rich person mindset who is strategic about how they invested their resources. The second difference is a follow-up on the first one. The rich person has a long-term mindset, whereas the poor person's mindset is all about short-term gain. And you probably heard this phrase, short-term gain equals long-term pain, whereas long-term gain comes from short-term pain. And what that means is when we sacrifice for tomorrow, we sacrifice today, we will have that success tomorrow. But if we're not willing to sacrifice, then sure, we get instant pleasure, but we're going to be struggling in the future. So my mentor, a guy named Michael Masterson, he wrote this book called Ready, Fire, Aim. And it's about growing your business from 0 to $1 million, and then from 1 million to 10 million, 10 to 50 million, then all the way to $100 million. Now, that's a long-term game. And too many people with a poor person's mindset get into entrepreneurship and they expect results overnight. And I hear this, I love this story. Like people go, oh, I was a real estate agent for 3 months, then I was an online entrepreneur for 3 months, got into e-com for 3 months, and none of this stuff works. Well, of course it doesn't work. Nothing's going to work and make you a millionaire in 3 months. So that short-term mindset that they must get immediate results, that immediate gratification, is definitely a poor person's mindset. Whereas you may know that delayed gratification, the ability to sacrifice now for pleasure later, is what separates the rich person's mindset from the poor person's mindset. It allows them to save and invest money and accumulate that over time, to live within their means and not get into credit card debt. So you must have that long-term approach. Now, how do you do it? Through proper goal setting, which was also taught to me by my mentor, Michael Masterson. So years ago, he gave me a hard time. He said, Craig, I just looked at your goal setting. You have 23 goals for the next year. That's the wrong way of doing it, because I wanted everything. I want success all at once. And he said, you only need 4 major goals: one for your health, your wealth, your personal enrichment, and your social life. So all those other ones, if you start to chase 23 goals, you'd be so distracted. But if you have just 4 major goals, you'll be laser focused in each one of those areas that doesn't overlap. And if you hit each one, you will have accomplished a lot of your other goals along the way. So avoid that short-term, I want everything now approach, going into debt, spending all your money, and understand that you need to delay the gratification, accumulate your wealth, and invest it back in yourself. And that is a huge difference between the rich person and the poor person, and why the rich person leaves the poor person behind. My friend Bedros Keuilian always says to me, Craig, I hate it when people have remember when conversations. People that are living in the past. I don't know if you ever watched Napoleon Dynamite, but you remember Uncle Rico living in the van, reliving his glory years. Well, that's a poor person's mindset, always living in the past. The wealthy, abundant-minded person spends a lot of time living in the future, planning out their next move, setting their goals, creating their vision, and then also a lot of time in the present, going out and accomplishing things. Now, sure, they had a past. They had great glories in the past and they had failures and mistakes, but they don't have any regrets. They don't waste any mental energy looking back. They only put their energy, effort, resources, time, and money into the future. So that is a huge difference between the poor person's mindset of, oh, remember when we were good and great and nothing ahead is going to be any better, so I may as well just live in the past. Whereas the rich person's mindset is, hey, the best is yet to come. And as Bedros says, never peak. All right, that's one of his mottos and his mindsets. And at first I never really understood what it meant, but I realize now that there is so much greatness ahead of you, no matter where you are in life, that you cannot rest and you cannot settle. That's what a poor person would do. The fourth difference between the rich mindset and the poor mindset is in a simple way of thinking. Now here's a rich man, Grant Cardone, and his rich mindset, 10x thinking. Now, I'll be able to explain the difference between big thinking, 10x thinking, and poor person's thinking using the analogy of a pie. A poor person has a scarcity mindset. And what they do is they see a pie and they think, oh my goodness, I need to go and get my piece of the pie before somebody else takes it from me. That's a very scarcity mindset. Now, an entrepreneur, a 10xer, as Grant Cardone would call us, a 10x thinker, a big thinker, they see a pie, sure. But they don't say, oh, someone's going to take my piece of the pie. They look at it one of two ways. One, I'm going to put some ice cream on that pie and make the pie better for everyone. Or I'm just going to go and bake a bigger pie. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a small pie. So when you 10x your thinking and you think bigger, you start to push yourself into different ways that you can come up with new ideas, new solutions to problems. My friend James Altucher has this really great exercise that you can do to train yourself to think bigger, to train yourself to get into 10x thinking. And he says, every single morning what I do is I sit down and I write 10 big ideas. And there might be 10 big ideas around growing my business, or 10 big ideas on how I can grow my social media. Or they might even be 10 big ideas that I can give to my friend for his business or her business. 10 big ideas on how I can live like a billionaire. Just expanding your mind, expanding your thinking the 10x way. So that's a huge difference. Scarcity versus abundance in the mindset of rich people who are abundantly thinking and the poor person who has a scarcity mindset. There's an old saying that goes like this: poor people have big TVs, whereas rich people have big libraries. Now, in this day and age, you can store all of your books on a phone, so you don't necessarily need a big library. And TVs are so darn cheap that everybody has a big TV. But what the saying means is that a poor person's mindset takes in the immediate gratification of watching television, binge watching on Netflix, always spending every single minute in entertainment and self-indulgence. Whereas the rich person delays gratification, goes and looks for the knowledge that's in here. My friend Grant Cardone, who wrote 10X, had a really great phrase about books. He says, I don't look at the price of a book. I go look for the money inside, the knowledge, the power that's inside the books. So yeah, you can also get great entertainment and education on television, like some great documentaries. Sure, that stuff is there. There's Netflix shows on Buffett and Tony Robbins. It's not just comedy and goofy stuff anymore. But reading a book is better than watching the documentary. And even better than reading the book is going to the event and meeting the person who wrote the book. So yeah, I love books, but the real rich person's mindset is to not just read the book and not just watch the documentary, but actually have a conversation with the expert. When you can go to the event, when you can sit there and learn from them, and when you can catch them on the break and ask them your specific question, that's the way to wealth. That's the difference between a rich person who will go to the ends of the earth to get the answer to their problem versus the poor person's mindset who hopes that the answer falls into their lap. In my books, including the Perfect Day Formula and the Perfect Week Formula, we tell people never hit the snooze button. And there's two reasons why. You're snoozing, you're losing, that's for sure. The first reason is that when you hit the snooze button, physiologically, you are going to end up more tired than if you got out of bed. Because the alarm goes off, you hit the snooze button, you fall back into a very poor sleep for 10 minutes, snooze button goes off, and you wake up even groggier than you were before. Now, that's one way of looking at it. My friend Bedros Keuilian has an even better way of looking at it. He says, when you hit the snooze button, you are telling your hopes and dreams that they can wait. And if you're a wealthy, abundantly minded, thinking person, are you really going to put your hopes and dreams off until later? Are you going to waste the magic minutes of the morning sitting in bed till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? Now I know. Again, here we go. The delayed gratification, the going to bed early so that you wake up. Now, early to rise is the way to do it. It absolutely is. Now, you don't have to get up at the 5 a.m. club, but just get up a little bit earlier every single day. Save that time that you usually spend hitting the snooze, and you'll get up before everybody else in your house, and you'll go down to your kitchen table, and you'll sit there and you'll work on your number one problem or number one opportunity for an extra 10, 20, 30 minutes a day. And over a course of a year, that can add up to 100 hours of devoted thinking to the greatest opportunity in your life that will bring you wealth and abundance. Or you can spend that time snoozing and losing. That's a huge difference. And I don't want you to make that mistake. Finally, the seventh difference between the rich abundance mindset and the poor scarcity mindset is that poor people are always finding excuses, whereas rich people always find solutions. They are relentless. My friend Tim Grover, who I've had on my podcast, he was the personal trainer to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade. He has helped champions go to the next level. And these people are always looking for solutions. They've got an injury. They're not going to look for an excuse and say, well, we're not going to be able to win. No, they're going to go and find a solution for the pain so they go out and become champions. If they are beaten, if their game is weak, they don't say, it's not fair, the refs blew it or whatever. No, they don't look for excuses. They don't take on excuses. They don't use excuses. Instead, they are relentless about self-improvement. You must commit yourself to becoming resilient, relentless, persistent, and consistent. That's the rich person's mindset. My friend Bedros says, if you don't have resources, get resourceful. Not if you don't have resources, use that as an excuse. Because everybody starts off with nothing. Now, some people are then given a little bit more of an advantage, but you take a look at some of the greatest people that you look up to today. Elon Musk had a terribly crazy father and nothing in South Africa and turned himself into one of the wealthiest men in the world. Oprah came from so much abuse and neglect and so much discrimination, and she lifted herself up to be one of the most influential women in the world. That's relentless thinking. And that, again, is what separates the rich person's mindset from the poor person's mindset. You can either have excuses or you can have solutions and success, but you can't have both. So when you commit, my friend, you can become rich. Just like my friend Ramit teaches in his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He teaches the tactics, but this has been the mindset, the downloading of the rich person's mindset that you need to apply the tactics in each of these books to go and save more money, make more money, and live the life of your dreams. That's what it's going to take. Now, there is one little bonus, I would say, extra that you need to add in here, and that's accountability. A rich person always looks to a mentor or a coach and says, hey, these are my goals, and I want you to hold me accountable, coach. This is the blueprint that we put together. I want you to hold me accountable to taking action and doing these things. And if I don't do it, you got to call me out on it. You got to make me play up a level in life. You got to lift me up to a higher level. And when you have that accountability and all of these steps in place, it doesn't matter where you're starting. It's where you end up in the long run. And you will get there. You will become wealthy and successful with the rich person's mindset.